There's something fascinating about people who grew up in the 1970s, and psychology actually proves it. If you grew up then, your brain developed during a rare evolutionary window, a time of total freedom combined with genuine responsibility. Honestly, most 70s kids look at the current generation and just laugh. Not in a mean way, but because they know something the rest of us don't. They experienced a time so magical that decades later they still say, I wish I could go back and stay there. You grew up on hose water, you were feral, and it was glorious. So, what did that do to your brain? First, you have self directed problem solving. It started with one phrase: go find something to do, or I'll find something for you to do. You knew the threat. If you dared say you were bored, suddenly you were sweeping floors. So, you learned fast. You weren't handed activities and you weren't scheduled. You had to invent your entire day from nothing, building forts and exploring the woods. You learned how to generate purpose from emptiness. That explains your creativity. But what about the calm? That is adaptive risk calibration. Look, you grew up climbing trees that were definitely too high and riding bikes without helmets. You were throwing rocks at each other and setting things on fire with fireworks. That was your internet. Every scraped knee and close call taught your nervous system the difference between actual danger and manageable risk. You broke bones, you got scars, and honestly, it felt like a medal of honor. That is why you can walk into a crisis today and start solving it while everyone else is panicking. Look, if you're already nodding your head because this sounds exactly like your childhood, honestly, hit that like button. It helps other 70s kids find their way back home too. But here is the deeper piece most young people will never understand. You carry comfortable solitude capacity. You spent hours in your room just listening to music. You explored alone, not because you were lonely, but because there was no screen demanding your attention every 3 seconds. Recent studies show people today would rather take a mild electric shock than sit quietly for 15 minutes. You would probably find that ridiculous, right? You learned early that boredom isn't an emergency, so your brain never developed the addiction to constant stimulation. Then there is analog patience. You waited for your favorite show once a week, no binge watching. You took photos and waited days to see if they turned out. You memorized phone numbers and just hoped your friends were home. Research shows this delay created better impulse control, better relationship outcomes, and career success. Your entire childhood was training in patience that modern life actively destroys. And here's the big one: unsupervised autonomy wiring. At 8 years old, you left the house with one rule: be back before the streetlights come on. Nobody tracked your location. You rode your bike to creeks miles away. A random stranger might even offer you lemonade and a sandwich, and back then, that was normal. Today, that is a police call. You had to assess situations and deal with consequences yourself. Your parents weren't your friends. They were the authority, and they trusted you to be competent. So, when you feel out of place today, remember, you aren't outdated. You are carrying capabilities that are going extinct. That independence that looks like coldness is competence. That comfort with silence that looks like antisocial behavior is depth. The ability to wait that looks like apathy is discipline. You survived a childhood that would get parents arrested today, and it didn't damage you, it built you. For a brief moment, childhood was both completely free and genuinely formative. Drop a comment if you are a 70s kid who knows it was the best era. And if you want more content that validates who you really are, hit subscribe, because we are just getting started.